Okay, guys, welcome to Help. I'm an entrepreneur, or I also like to refer to it as, I'm an entrepreneur, send help. Sometimes it just feels like that emotional roller coaster. And I've talked to so many people who feel the same way, especially in the beginning stages of our business. And I hold the belief that we can do something about it. And there are things that we can do to kind of even out this ride that we're on. And I think for many of us, I don't know that we would have gotten into business doing what we do, knowing how hard it would be at times. But when we know our why and what we're doing means so much to us and is so impactful and life-changing, it's just not a question in the beginning, of like, yes, of course I'm supposed to do this and I'll figure it out along the way. So sometimes I think we're happy to have that ignorance is bliss in the beginning. And then, as we get going, we figure it out and get people around us. And I'm going to go through things that we can do to kind of help ourselves through this journey that we're on. Let me go ahead and share with you guys and we'll get going here. Present. Yes. All right. You guys see everything okay? We're good? Okay, awesome. So, if you've talked to me before, there's a good chance we've probably talked about this at some point. Just the highs and lows of it all. And especially when you've never had your own business before, you get into this and you're like, okay, now I wear all the hats, right? I'm all the things. I'm the CEO, the CFO, I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the social media person now, like you're it, and it just can feel a little overwhelming at times. And a little bit of a shock. Like I was in retail for 11 years. And while I managed teams, I was not, the owner. I was the manager, not the owner. So you would think there'd be more similarities, but at least for me, it was a culture shock for sure, going from that to this. So for some of us, we are natural creatives and some of us are natural business owners. We love the business acumen side. But if we don't love this side, how do we operate well in our business? How do we take it all in stride and still do the things we need to do when it's maybe not our favorite part? So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is to streamline. Are your systems clunky? Are they taking longer than really they should? Are there things you could be doing to streamline? And perhaps it's worth, talking about like what part of your business is feeling hard or clunky. And this could be, scheduling. This could be forms. This could be payment, social media, prospecting, whatever it is. So being able to identify what part of the business you're not loving, what part of the business side you're not loving can really help, and then make it easier on yourself. So for example, for me, I knew the power of consistently posting on social media, and that if I did that long enough, that fruit would bear from that process. But it was more like it just took me so long to make one post. How am I supposed to post 2 to 3 times a week and keep up with it all? For me, that was feeling really draining and hard. Even though I like social media, I don't shun it or anything. I enjoy it. It just was feeling draining to me. And so I went on Fiverr and I hired a VA who was relatively inexpensive. And I had her create, a month's worth of posts at a time and, gave her stuff I wanted her to talk about, edited everything in my own voice. And now I have 2 posts every week that I can post for the whole month. And I'll get in there and do my own thing too and customize what she does. But for me, spending $75 for the month for a month's worth of social media was like, yeah, that's great. And if that feels scary to you to outsource something that you don't like or streamline, and it's going to cost you money, I would just kind of break down the ROI. You know, I'm huge with numbers and metrics. So of course I tracked how much I was spending on this VA versus the sales I was getting from social media. And it was well worth it. And then side note, if you are kind of thinking more about the social media part of your business, just know, and you've probably heard me say this before, if you've listened to me in the past, is that it's going to take about 90 days being consistent, 60 to 90 days being consistent first, before you actually start to kind of see results. So just know that if you do what I did, it's still going to take a little bit of time to, you know, be consistent and then start to, you know, create clients from it. So it's not just like, I posted for a week, you know, I'm good, I should be getting clients now. Like, that's not how it works, but consistency is key. So my question for you is going to be, you know, what part of your business is feeling clunky or is taking up too much of your time or is making you kind of dread a certain part of your business? And I want you to write it in the chat if you can. And we're in a room full of coaches here. I'm sure someone will have a suggestion for you on that part. My one example was social media. So go ahead and put those in the chat so that we can come alongside you as a community and give you suggestions and tools that we like. You've probably heard me say this before too at some point, but I love HoneyBook for all the things. It integrates a lot of the platforms I was on before. So that's just another little one that I like. Control your controllables. So when you're feeling like you're on the roller coaster of your business, control your controllables. That's the only thing that can, I think, bring us a little bit of peace of mind. But what does that mean? I think largely it means your habits. So a couple things that I'll list that are like habits that I've focused on are definitely like, okay, so one is like a relentless pursuit of development and learning. So people will ask, you know, what did you do to build your business or be successful in your business? And I always tell them one thing that I could control was just being relentless about becoming a better coach every day. So whether that was reading a book, listening to a book, watching a video, that's one thing that I could truly control. Another one would be powerful conversations, making a habit of having powerful conversations, not just with prospective clients, but also with other coaches. I made a habit of, and still do, I talk to other coaches every week, if not daily. I really do. I stay plugged in and connected to coaches who are successful in their businesses and that I want to learn from and grow with, and also share what I know with them too. So having powerful conversation as a practice in your daily life with whomever you come into contact with is something that we can control. I would also say one thing we can control is with the habits we do have, and then focusing on creating good habits and staying, you know, doing our bad habits less. That's not very good English. But decreasing friction to make the new habits easier and increasing friction to make the old habits harder. For example, if I want to control controllable, and that would be meaning like to create a habit of prospecting 1 hour a week every week. Okay, how can I make that easier on myself to do that? And how can I make it harder to get distracted from doing that? So for example, one way I would make it easier is maybe I would time block it in my calendar, and I would use a time tracking tool to keep track of the time I'm actually spending on prospecting during that time for accountability to myself, because then I can actually see how much time I stayed focused on that one thing. And then to make it harder, maybe I would, before I sat down, I would remove all distractions from my desk. I would put away just anything I think visually that would be distracting to me on my desk. And so anyway, that's just a little example of how you can reduce friction to make a desired habit easier and increase friction to make a bad habit harder. Know your numbers. So I'm so excited about this topic. I could go on and on and on about it, honestly, but I'm not going to. So knowing your numbers, I would say the top number that helps me not to feel so emotionally all over the place in my business is to know the consult to client conversion, meaning when you have a consultation or consultations, how many of those as a percentage become a client. For me, that tells me how many no's I can expect. And that doesn't hurt. It doesn't sting as much because I know that 60% of my consultations will result in a yes and 40% will result in a no. And so I don't know about you guys, but that brings me a lot of peace of mind going in, knowing that, like, you know, it's not me. if that ever crossed my mind, it's just truly that some people will be ready to work with you and some people won't. And I actually know how many of them will usually say no. So I really like knowing that ahead of time. So this is also a topic that I will be going much deeper in on our conference, September 17th. And so just a little teaser for you. If you are wanting to know more about your metrics and how to use them to grow, that is what my speech will be on during our conference. I do have 5 passes for $50 off general admission. And so if you are interested in attending our virtual conference and you want to learn more, this is our website right here. I do have 5 of these $50 off general admission. If you would like one, please DM Suzanne in the chat, 50 off, private DM her in this Zoom chat, 50 off, and she will get that over to you. But it's just the first 5 who respond. But super excited to talk more about using metrics to grow. That'll be mine. Suzanne will be speaking on the long game of marketing. She is so good in this area. I'm learning from her all the time. Client creation, powerful prospecting, paying yourself, profit first, specialized partnerships, and then providing transformational experience and coaching. So that's just a list of the topics we're going to be speaking on. So just wanted to show that to you guys, and we'll get back to my next point. This is a huge one. Okay, so pay yourself consistently. Some of you may be familiar with a system in which to do this and are doing this. Some of you are not. A lot of coaches I talk to actually aren't paying themselves or just keep everything in retained earnings, which, you know, everyone's going to have their own system, but I highly encourage you to find a way to pay yourself consistently. This will help prevent burnout. This will help you keep loving your business. And I think it will help with the emotional highs and lows if you know that you are consistently paying yourself something and you can expect that and be able to budget with it, right? There's some things out there, you know, that are percentage based. I highly recommend, you know, that. There is Profit First. There's the, I'm creating the Pay Yourself First playbook that's coming out in the next month. That's going to be a course. So just having some sort of system of percentages where you can, you know, pay yourself a certain amount, set aside money for taxes, operating expenses. I just kind of think, like, if I had an employee and I didn't pay him or her, I might not keep them around for very long, right? So why do we treat ourselves that way? If we were doing that to anyone else, like, that wouldn't fly. And so as business owners, we deserve to be paid for our hard work. We should be paid. And so that's what I got to say about that. Have something in place. And I think through this, you're also deciding what kind of business you want to have. You know, is it a business? Is it a hobby? It's okay if it is a hobby or just a service-based, you know, ministry opportunity. that's fine, but you got to decide, because if you want this to be a business, you need to pay yourself, I'll leave you with, don't try to do everything by yourself. Just don't, but try to connect with people and resources. Having that discipline and perseverance is really important. If we, as coaches, when we do our business, when we're working in our business, we don't have coworkers right here next to us and, people to just talk to or bounce out ideas off of. So you have to be intentional about creating that community. And if you aren't already in our Becoming a Powerhouse Coach free Facebook group, please hop in there. It's one way that we can really support each other by, bringing our stuff to the table and having other people come around us with support. But doing this alone will be really lonely, right? And so surround yourself with other people, stay at it. We're all going through or have been through similar things. So plug in and get the support you need. And that will really help, help you navigate the waters of entrepreneurship, because you don't have to do it on your own, even if you're a sole proprietor. All right. I would love to just take any questions that you have. I have not seen the chat, so I will open that up. And Suzanne, if you wanted to read anything that someone had said at one point, feel free.
No questions yet, but I'm not sure if everybody knew we were going to be opening it to questions. So please, you guys can unmute yourself. I will allow it if you'd like to raise your hand and ask a question, or if you want to type it. If you don't want people to know who asked the question, you can type it to me directly and I will ask it on your behalf.
Crystal had said, everything that's not coaching feels clunky to me. So are you, and please guys, feel free to unmute and talk. This is a discussion. Let's learn from each other. What is it, more like the technology side for you, or systems, or like what questions can I answer for you?
Courtney, you know me so well. It's the technology. It's obviously a huge generalization, but kind of anything that has to do with technology feels clunky, and it's come a long way. I've been working with Cortney for over a year, and it's gotten a lot better, but there's still things like, just streamlining my process, especially because things have been slow for a while, and onboarding people smoothly and efficiently, and getting them information smoothly and just efficiency.
Yeah, you made me think of something else. I've worked with a few coaches this year on just restarting the business, like after a dry spell or after stopping and then starting again. And one thing that's easy to do in our business is to think that because I've been out of the game for a season, the doubts start to creep in, like, can I really do this? Am I good at this? Are people going to find me helpful? Like, can I really make this coaching business a viable thing? And don't mistake, I want to say this on the hills and the valleys, don't mistake a valley or a hill for your new normal, or for just how things are going to be now. This business will have natural dry seasons, high seasons. We all know this by now. Or if you're newer, there's going to be certain months that coaching is just not as busy. And just knowing that ahead of time, I think, can bring a little bit of solace. Like, hey, it has nothing to do with how good I am as a coach, but that there's going to be natural variations in this business. And that's, so we can just kind of remember, like, our wins before, do you keep track of client wins? Do you remember the transformation that has happened in the past? Never forget that, and write it down if you don't already. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Crystal. That kind of made me think of that. And, the technology side is hard. When I first started my business, I'm learning all these tools that I never thought I would use, and it just takes practice and just getting your reps and just in using it. And that's really what it is, I think. And thank goodness for YouTube. There's so many helpful things on there if it comes to like HoneyBook or Excel or this and that. I'm jumping on there sometimes to learn more about these tools that I need to use with clients. So
Courtney, both Lori pointed out that she's a huge fan of Profit First, and Adrian also asked, where do we start with paying ourselves?
yeah, great question. So where do you start? I think it starts with knowing what your baseline is. What have you been doing in your business for a select time period? So let's use January through June, for example. Lay out all your numbers. How much did you earn in revenue? Each month, how much did you set aside for taxes, if any? How much were you spending on operating expenses? And then how much were you paying yourself? And so what you do is you kind of take a look at what's real and then start to incrementally move towards what's ideal. So you've got your baseline, and then you're going to move towards what's ideal. And people are going to have different takes on this. In Profit First, he recommends adjusting those percentages by 1%. So if historically you've been paying at 1% per quarter, so if historically you've been paying yourself 20%, he recommends starting to pay yourself 21% and then adjust that quarterly. In my approach that I've created, I created something that's kind of like Profit First, made simple for simple online business owners. And so I recommend moving things by 1% per month if you can. So there's just different approaches on it, but a very, I would say the most well-known I know about is Profit First. And that's kind of what he recommends, is no matter even what I do and what I teach people, know what you've been doing, your baseline, and then incrementally move towards what is ideal for you. Does that make sense?
Hey, Courtney, can I just add to, if I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But part of, and I sent a note in the chat over to Crystal about this, because what I've heard in what she was saying with kind of the cluster of everything else was that, and the efficiency, but it sounded to me more like it was a time management issue. And she agreed. She said it was a time management issue. And so just as a hint, because I know a lot of us have these issues, sometimes, like you talked about setting aside, okay, just go through and do these points. But part of what was told to me by another a long time ago was that piece that really is hardest for you, or that piece that you really don't like the most. Start your day with doing that. Set that aside, and for a very short period of time, it can be 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is, but do that and do it every day. Because if you've tackled that hardest thing first, then the rest of your day can kind of feel like cake, and again, that time plan of, here's what I'm going to do at this time. And even if I don't like it, I'm going to force myself to do it for 30 minutes. We could do anything for 30 minutes. And then get it done and get it out of the way.
It's so true. Thanks for sharing, Lori. One thing I would even add to that is what part of the day are you most productive? What is your prime? If you're not a morning person, trying to get something done first thing in the morning might be a disaster. If you are a night person, you do work nights, then when you sit down at your desk, the first thing, so like Lori said, the first thing you do at your prime, make that the hardest thing first, and then the rest of the day just feels like cake and it feels easy. So use your prime energy for that thing first, and time block. Time blocking isn't perfect, it's not a perfect science, but being able to budget your time does wonders, just like we budget our money. And Crystal's heard me go on and on about this, but budgeting your time can really, really help in helping yourself stay focused, especially if you have a mind that's kind of all over the place and always 100 tabs open like mine. Being able to assign a time block to an activity helps you stay focused, because you can kind of pull it up and be like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be working on this thing right now. Am I doing that? Whoops, let's get back to it. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it actually helps, even though I've heard it before, to hear you say it in those words, to budget your time like your money, because I totally nerd out on budgeting the money. And if I could take that same enthusiasm to my time, it would probably be helpful. And good catch, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you to our anonymous participant who pointed out SUAW. If you don't know what that means, it means shut up and work, find a buddy. If you, as Cortney was saying, time blocking is a great thing. But for example, I time blocked yesterday, and within 5 minutes of starting, I had a delivery that I wasn't expecting until next week. And I had to go downstairs and sign for it. And it got me off track with my 8,000 tabs that are open. So when I commit to a time where I know someone is waiting for me to show up and for me to say, hey, Court, this is what I want to get done in the next 2 hours, that helps hold me accountable as well, too, even if I do get off track with whoever's at my door.
Yep. Yeah. Team up with the buddy, turn your cameras on, turn the mics off, and just work together. You have that accountability. Like, even though they're not right there with you, like making sure you're doing what you're doing, like they're still kind of like, hey, I've set aside this time with this person for this certain thing. I'm going to focus on that thing. And I'll take it one step further, time batching. So I'm a big fan of this. So like if you want to pair like with like tasks. So for me, I just reinstituted admin time on Mondays. So I have a 3-hour block where it's admin only, no meetings, where I can just go through email, review this, review that. That's just admin related. And I've defined ahead of time what those tasks are. So I don't get there and I'm like, what do I do now? I know exactly what I need to be doing and I batch it together. All right, anonymous participant. I haven't set up a formal business yet. I know it's late, but where would I start with that? So as far as I know, you're going to need to register with your state, like get a business license. You need to register with your state and city. And then federally, you get an EIN. And that's free. Don't pay for that. It's just like a federal taxpayer number so that you don't have to use your social security if you were going to go open a bank account. So register with your state, city, and then go get business bank accounts. Anyone feel free to add to that if you'd like. Okay.
One thing I would say is that every area is different.
Questions can I answer for you guys on entrepreneurship, that roller coaster that we ride before we head out?
One thing I would say about starting the business, the question that came in is also check your local city and township and county rules. For example, I was in the city of San Diego, which is also the county of San Diego when I started my business. And I actually had to do state paperwork and county paperwork, which I would never have even thought to look for. So definitely just doing a quick Google search and possibly even just taking a trip down to the city hall and seeing where they send you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you haven't already messaged Suzanne, if you want that $50 off general admission for our conference, September 17th, go ahead and send her a message. Thank you guys so much for coming. For those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. If you need to see a replay, this will be up on our YouTube channel. Thank you guys all for coming, and I hope that this was helpful for you today. Bye, guys.